So, good day everyone. We are the week 8 group reporters, and before we start our group report, let us pray. Dear Lord and Father of all, thank you for today. Thank you for ways in which you provide for us all. For your protection and love, we thank you. Help us to focus our hearts and minds now on what we are about to learn. Inspire us by your Holy Spirit as we listen and write. Guide us by your eternal light as we discover more about the world around us. We ask all this in the name of Jesus. Amen. So, our topic for today is all about writing skill. Trends in classroom practices and techniques. Capitalization, punctuation, and paragraph. So, I know that everyone that is listening right now is familiar with writing skill already because the group 3 reporters already discussed this topic. But for more information, what is writing skill? Writing skills are an important part of communication. Having good writing skills allow you to communicate your message with clarity and ease to a far larger audience than through face-to-face or telephone conversations. Writing well is easily one of the most sought after and useful skills in the business world. So, that is the importance of writing skill. And now we're going to focus on the importance of capitalization, punctuation, and paragraph. Next slide. So, what are the objectives of this topic? At the end of the lesson, the students should be able to A. Memorize the usage of different classroom trends, learn the difference from one punctuation to another, and C. Realize its importance, especially when analyzing some written outputs. So, I hope that after this discussion, my classmates would be able to memorize the usage of different classroom and trends and you would be familiarized with it. So, I hope that you guys would watch the video and listen well. And I hope that you will be able to differentiate the differences from one punctuation to another because that is really important, And I hope that you realize the importance, especially when analyzing some written outputs. Next slide. So, when and how to use capital letters can be a thorny problem because it may be acceptable to drop capital letters when writing casually to friends. But if you are writing anything more formal, then you need to use capital letters correctly. So, it is not allowed to use capital letters all the time when you are writing formally. But if you're just writing to your friends, especially your close friends, then I guess it's okay. But remember not to write capital letters when you are writing a formal one. Okay? Next slide.
When to use capital letters. Rule number 1. To start a sentence. There are no exceptions to this rule. This means that after a full stop, you always use a capital letter. If the previous sentence ends with a question mark or exclamation mark, you should also use a capital letter. Question mark and exclamation mark like full stops indicate the end of a sentence. So, this means that when you are writing a sentence, you should always capitalize the first letter of your sentence. Then when you see question marks, periods, and exclamation mark, this indicates that your sentence ends. So, when writing a paragraph, the same rule should be applied. This is so common for all of us because since we are on elementary, this rule was already taught to us. So, next slide.
Rule number 2, titles. In titles, capitalize only the important words, not minor words such as and but. So, in titles, if we notice in titles, the first word is always capitalized. And and all the principal words or important words like nouns, pronouns, verb, adjective, and adverbs are capitalized, while the minor word or non-principal words such as and, but, or of should not capitalize. Title case with all the important words capitalized is rather out of fashion at the moment. Most academic journals and standard referencing systems, for instance, prefer what is known as sentence case with a single initial capital. So, ang difference between title case and sentence case, ang title case ay nakakapitalize lahat ng words except sa minor words like mga and, but, while the sentence case naman is ang mga nakakapitalize lang ang mga essential or mga important words like names sa tao, places, and the rest are lowercase. Next.
Rule number 3 for proper nouns. Proper nouns name something specific, for example, Michelle, Denise, Mindanao State University, Indonesia, Microsoft, Mount Matutum, Tuka Beach. A proper noun is a specific name for a particular person, place, or thing. A proper nouns nearly always start with a capital letter. There are exceptions to this rule, and in marketing sometimes lowercase characters are purposefully used for some proper nouns. Ang proper nouns daw na ay exemption sa iyahang rule. Di ba ang rule sa proper nouns kay always start with a capital letter? Naada exemption sa iyang rule. Pariyaning sa example ni ma'am. Sa iPhone, ang iPhone daw kay exemption siya sa rule sa proper noun kay tungod brand name man siya. So murag gihimo siya sa company. So depende sa company kung i-capitalize nila ang first letter or dili. Kay kuan siya kaning gihimo man nila so exemption ang iPhone sa rules sa proper noun. Kay marketing may exemption ang proper noun. Then, proper nouns are always capitalized in English no matter where they fall in a sentence. Because they Indo nouns with a specific name, they are also sometimes called proper nouns. For examples, I'd like you to meet my friend Jerome. And the proper noun here is Jerome. So you should capitalize the first letter of Jerome because it's talk about the person. Kung biskan asa siya na butang, basta proper noun siya, basta name siya sa tao or place, kung biskan siya sa nabutang, dapat kaning capitalize gid siya. Next.
Rule number 4, acronyms. Acronyms generally work like title case. You capitalize the important words and not and of, or and so on. The easiest way to work this out is to write out the full title, and then you can see which word don't need to be capitalized. So, an acronym is also an abbreviation form from the initial letters of other words and pronounced as of words. And if you write a sentence, phrase, long name, or words into acronyms, you grab the first letter in every word to create a new short word to represent the bigger whole logic word. At kapag yung sentence is isusulat sa acronym, kailangan it write in a capital letter, but merong word na not allowed to write in capital letter like and, of, and for. To make this clear, here are examples. British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC. Manchester United Football Club, MUFC. United Arab Emirates, UAE. Head of Department, HOD. So you can see in 4 examples of acronym, the HOD or in the head of department, the O, it is not right in capital letters. So that's why I said earlier that not all not all letter that na isusulat sa acronym ay kailangan lahat isusulat in capital letter.
Okay. Rule number 5, contractions. For contractions, capitalize the initial letters of words, but not subsequent letters within the same word. Contractions are like acronyms, but also include one or more letters from within the same word. Examples of this include hi-fi, which is short for high fidelity, and sci-fi, short for science fiction. So, ang kanang contractions kay may similarity siya sa acronyms. Pero ang nakalahian lang sa contractions kay ang iyahang initial letter mao mo'y capital, pero ang magsunod na letter niya or iyang subsequent na letter is small. Small. Tapos kung mag-create na po, kung nana po'y sumpay nga another word kay ang initial letter na po niya is capital, tapos ang magsunod na po nga letter is small na pod. Tapos ang another example kay science fiction, mo na siya ang sci-fi. Ang S kay capital letter, ang initial, tapos ang nagsunod kay small, tapos sa fidelity na pod, F kay capital, tapos ang nagsunod na pod sa initial letter kay small letter na pod. And then, the way to deal with this is to write out the phrase and have a look. Although the words that are abbreviated may not be capitalized, as in science fiction, the abbreviation always contains capitals for the start of each new word to make the word boundaries and pronunciation clear. Many people wrongly assume that Wi-Fi is a contraction of wireless fidelity. In fact, the word Wi-Fi is an entirely made-up word, a marketing invention, and does not stand for anything. It is, however, officially written as Wi-Fi. So, ang Wi-Fi is dili siya an example of contraction because it is only an entire made-up marketing strategy. Para sa'yo na lang siya i-mention sa mga taong nagagamit o Wi-Fi. Next.
Rule number 6. Overusing capitals is rude. Sometimes entirely in block capitals is shouting and it's rude. We've all done it. Left the caps lock on when typing. But in email etiquette, online chats, and or forum posts, writing in capitals is the only equivalent of shouting. It's rude, so best not to do it unless you really do want to shout at someone. Even then, consider whether you'd really do it if the person was in front of you, and also whether it will get you anywhere. So, short strings of words in capital letters appear bolder and louder than mixed case, and this is sometimes referred to as screaming or shouting. Using capital letters to indicate strong feeling may be the most famous example of typographical tone or voice. So, sometimes it is common for us to use black capitals when talking to a friend, but formally be aware of using capitals because always using black capitals should sometimes refer to as screaming or shouting because bear in mind that people have different perspectives and understandings. So, it may appear normal to you to use capital letters, but it may not be normal for the person you are talking to, especially when you meet the very first time. So, be useful. Be aware of using black capitals because in them it is sometimes it is normal for you, but in them it is rude and it is rude. So next slide. Next slide. also much harder to read block capitals as all the letters are the same height. So you will make your point much more easily if you use lowercase. Sometimes, especially when completing a handwritten form, block capitals are preferred since this can make data entry or automatic computer recognition of handwriting easier and more accurate. So, words written in capital letters have no shape. Words with small letters go up and down. Words with small letters have ascenders. So what are these ascenders? Ascenders are the letters that goes up, like the letter B. So when you write letter B, the stroke goes up. Some small letters have descenders or the letters that go down, like the letter P. Some small letters have no ascender or descender. They stay in the middle. So letters vary in height. But all capital letters are the same height. So when you write a word using all capital letters, then the word has no height nor shape. When we read text, especially when we read fast, we do not read each individual letter. Instead, we read the whole words and phrases, and we recognize these words and phrases partly by their shape. So, when we read, we do not focus on the letter itself, but the word as a whole. So, it is easier for us to read words that has shapes or the words with small letters because words with capital letters is different to it's difficult to read because it has no shape and no height. So next slide.
So guys, what is punctuation? So punctuation is a system of signs or symbols given to a reader to show how a sentence is constructed and how it should be read. Sentences are the building blocks used to construct written accounts. They are a complete statement. Punctuation shows how the sentence should be read and makes the meaning clear. Every sentence should include at least a capital letter of start and a full stop, exclamation mark, or question mark at the end. This basic system indicates the sentence is complete. So punctuation adds clarity and precision to writing. It allows the writer to stop, pause, give emphasis to certain parts of the sentence. Using correct punctuation in your writing helps the reader to clearly understand the message that is being conveyed. And if we use wrong punctuation or meron tayong na-miss na punctuation sa sentence natin, it's possible that the meaning of the entire sentence will be changed. And so I have an example of using wrong or not proper use of punctuation below. Next. So, as you can see in the picture, have the same sentence but because of punctuation, nag-ibang meaning ng bawat statement. So here, let's eat grandma. So, ang ginamin dito sa statement na ito ay kainin natin si grandma. At here in other side naman, let's eat grandma. Inaaya na kumain si grandma. So you can see the difference between using proper punctuation and using wrong punctuation. Sa wrong punctuation, 'di ba, you can see nag-iba yung meaning at pag-intindi sa message ng isang statement. Next. The basic sign of punctuation: the comma, the full stop, the exclamation mark, the question mark, the semicolon, the colon, the apostrophe, quotation mark, the hyphen, bracket, or the slash. These are the basic sign of punctuation, and my group mates will discuss one by one and explain the basic sign of punctuation. Next.
So, the comma. The comma is useful in a sentence when the writer wishes to pause before proceeding, add a phrase that does not contain any new subject, separate items on a list, use more than one adjective, a describing word like beautiful. The comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a slight break, pause, or transition. Comma are necessary before a coordinating conjunction. And the conjunction are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. That separates two independent clauses. Commas are necessary after introductory words, phrases, or clauses in a sentence. So, we can use comma anytime we combine two independent clauses with any of the 7 coordinating conjunction. Pwede na nato gamiton ang comma para mag-combine sa two independent clauses. Kaning, for example, goodbye. Next. For examples, I can't go to dance, comma, but you should go without me. So, napansin ninyo classmate nga, ang comma naa siya sa pagkatapos sa dance. Then magbutang daw ka og comma before the conjunction. Ang conjunction dira kay Batman. So, nagbutang siya og comma before ang conjunction. So mao to yung para sa second example gihapon, I need to buy a dress, comma, so I am going to the mall. So, ang conjunction dira so. So, bago siya nag-proceed sa so, nagbutang siya og comma. Kay before you proceed before ka mag-proceed sa coordinating conjunction, dapat magbutang na ka og comma. Next. Next, bye. Next po. So, full stop period. A full stop should always be used to end a sentence. The full stop indicates that a one point has been made and that you are about to move on to further explanation or a related point. A full stop period is a punctuation mark. It is used for several purposes, most often to mark the end of a declaration sentence. As opposed to a question or exclamation, this sentence terminal used alone defines the strictest sense of full stop. So, ang full stop daw, mao ni siya ang imuhang kahiwatig kung nag-stop na ka sa imuhang sentence. Bago ka para mabalansa imuhang readers nga nag-proceed na ka sa next nimo nga sentence nga imong gibuhat. Then exclamation mark. An exclamation mark indicates strong feeling within a sentence such as fear, anger, or love. It is also used to accentuate feelings within the written spoken words. Exclamation mark, known informally as a bang or shrink, used at the end of a sentence or a short phrase which expresses very strong feeling. So, ang exclamation mark daw kay mo ni siya ang kaning kuan. Mo ni siya ang murag magpahiwatig nga nagaanong gud ka sa imong feelings sa imong audience or sa imong readers. So, ang exclamation guys mo to siya kaning ang exclamation daw dili siya usually nga ginagamit sa formal writing. Then, the examples of kaning exclamation example by so we can use an exclamation mark at the end of a strong command, an interjection, or an emphatic declaration. So this is the examples of exclamation mark. Stop, then put exclamation mark. He yelled, "You've got two flat tires." There's examples niya kaning sa stop magbutang og exclamation mark kay sa stop pa lang daan murag nag-express na ta og feelings nato kanang murag nagsyagit na siya ba kay nakakita siya motor nga nagadagan tapos wala ka bantay ang driver nga flat ihang ligid, so murag syagita niya ang driver nga flat ihang duha ka ligid. Para gyapon siya sa example sa second. Dira guys, dili na siya tuldo ka exclamation mark na siya dira. Then I've had it with it eat your lies. So diri sa examples number 2 murag ang ano niya diri kay murag naay maguyab ba nag-away sila duha, nagstoryahan sila duha, then murag naingon gud ang isa nga kaning I've had it with it your lies kaning murag kaning nahitabo ni tungod sa imong mga atik inana good ang isa ka person nag-express siya sa iyang feelings sa iyang uyab binana. Then next,
Question mark. The question mark simply indicates that a sentence is asking a question. It always comes at the end of a sentence. For example, are we at the end? So, question mark, it is common to us, right? And simula nung elementary at high school, tinuro na sa atin kung ano itong question mark. And I know that all of us, we know how to use or where to use the question mark. And question mark is a type of punctuation mark that indicating a question. It is used to express doubt or uncertainty about something. And we can use question mark to write a question, make an inquiry, and ask something. And note that the question mark also serves as a full stop. Semicolon. The semicolon is perhaps the most difficult sign of punctuation to use accurately. If in doubt, avoid using it and convert the added material into a new sentences. So, the semicolon, it is used to join two independent clauses or two complete thoughts that could stand alone as complete sentence. So, as a general rule, the semicolon is used in the following ways. When joining two connected sentences. So sometimes two independent clauses can be put together to form another kind of sentence. The compound sentence, they are also called coordinating conjunction because they join or coordinate two equal clauses. For example, we sat at down, the weather looked promising, or assertive behavior concerned being able to express feelings, wants and desires appropriately. Passive behavior means complying with the wishes of others. So you got two distinct sentences, but when they join by a semicolon, they paint a fuller picture than they would if kept separate. The semicolon communicates a deeper relationship. The semicolon can also be used to assemble detailed list. Can be used. For example, the conference was attended by delegates from Paris, France, Paris, Texas, London, UK, Stockholm, Sweden, Colombo, Sri Lanka, and Mumbai, India. So can be used to link items in a list such as objects, location, names, and description. Where the list items already contains comma, a semicolon helps avoid confusion between the items. And the rules of semicolon is to make the gap between the two sentences smaller. Number two, to introduce a new complete sentence with words such as however, nevertheless, therefore, for example, etc. Number three, to separate units in a list with units already containing comma. Number four, when you use a connector such as but and or between two independent clauses. Number five, when you have two sentences connected by a connector and a comma. So what not to do with a semicolon? Number one, don't use it if you have a dependent clause before a dependent clause. Number two, don't capitalize words after a semicolon. So the semicolon consists of a dot above a comma. The usage of semicolon is to separate sentences where the conjunction has been left out and link sentences which also use words such as otherwise, however, therefore as connectors.
Colon. The colon within a sentence makes a very pointed cross between two phrases. There are two main uses of the colon. It is most commonly used when listing, or it can be used with a heading or descriptive title. So, I know that all of us here are familiar with colon since we have been using it during high school days. Next slide, please. Colons are used to introduce new information. Also, after the greetings in a letter, a colon is used. Example number 1. In order to make an omelette, you need the following: eggs and butter. So, as you can see in the example number 1, the colon is used to introduce new information, right? Example number 2. Dear mother, I take this opportunity to say hello and tell you all about my new life here in States. I miss all of you very, very much. So, in example number 2, you can see that after the greetings in a letter, a colon is being used. And example number 3, topic, punctuation marks. So, the colon is being used in a descriptive title. Next slide. Slash. Many people use the slash instead of or and etc. But this is not always helpful to the reader. There is, however, a modern convention in gender-neutral writing to use she or he. Next slide. Next slide. So, when to use a slash? you're going to use slash to separate parts of a website address URL on the internet. Example, https or www.google.com indicate fractions, 1/2, a half, or 1/2. In dates to separate day, month, and year. Form some abbreviations, W/O or without. In place of or, express the word pair. Separate lines from a poem or song and show contradictory notions. Next slide. Apostrophe. The apostrophe, sometimes called an inverted comma, has two main uses. The apostrophe indicates possession or ownership. Another use of the apostrophe is to indicate where a letter is omitted. Apostrophe is used for possessives. Example, Amy's ballet class. So, Amy and then apostrophe S. So, as you can see in this example, it shows the possessiveness. It indicates possession or ownership. The parents' bedroom. Between parent and S, there is an apostrophe. And then another use for apostrophe is for contractions. They plus have equals they have. Between they and V, there is an apostrophe. Are plus not aren't, then you're using apostrophe between N and T. They plus will equals they will. So you're using apostrophe between they and double L. Next is quotation or speech marks. Quotation or speech marks are used to mark out speech when quoting someone else's speech. So, quotation marks are punctuation marks used in pairs. Number 1, to identify previously spoken or written words. Example, Lenin said, "A lie told often enough to becomes the truth." So, in this example, the quotation marks are being used to identify previously spoken or written words. So, nag-identify siya o mga spoken or written words nga gisulti na, nahitabo na. Number 2, quotation marks are also used to signify allege. Example, Brutus was a friend. Number 3, to highlight the names, ships, books, and place. Example, I wrote Mein Kampf or I wrote Titanic. Example number 4. So in this number 3, it's like you are highlighting the names, ships, and books and place using quotation marks. Number 4, to show what a word refers to the word itself. Example, mistakes is not a word I use. Next slide.
Hyphen. The hyphen is used to link words together. For example, subpart 18th century people. Hyphens can be used to link prefixes such as non-sub and super to their main words. Next slide. The hyphen is also used when a word is split between two lines. The hyphen should be placed between syllables at the end of the upper line and indicates to the reader that the word will be completed on the next line. So this means when we write a paragraph and at di ba dili masakto sa imuhang paper, then magamit ta og hyphen to split the word. Hyphen is used when a word is split between two lines. Ibig sabihin, a word can be split into two using hyphens, but make sure that the hyphen will be put by syllables. So, here are some examples of a hyphen. This is a one-way street. The phrase one-way is used as an adjective phrase to describe the noun street. So, in the example, Our noun is the street, while one way is our adjective with which describe our noun. So we think to hyphenate it to show that these two ideas are linked. So try to remove the hyphen and ask yourself if it makes sense to say this is a one street way. That doesn't make sense, right? That's why you need to link these two words, and in a way these two words, when they're hyphenated, become one word. In a sense, they function as one word in a sentence. But remember that you'll hyphenate an adjective phrase like that when it comes before a noun. But if it comes after a noun, usually you don't need to hyphenate it. So, magamit lang daw ka og hyphen if ang imuhang adjective comes before the noun. But if it comes after the noun, dili na daw nimo gamitan og hyphen. Like for example, i-rephrase na to ang example. The street only goes one way. So, ang atong adjective is after a noun. So, the one way here, dili na daw nimo i-hyphenate. Next slide. Brackets. Brackets always come in pairs and are used to make an aside or a point which is not a part of the main flow of a sentence. If you remove the words between the brackets, the sentence should still make sense. So, just like for example, imagine that wala na naa sa sulod sa bracket. The destruction of Guernica horrified the world. So, the sentence still makes sense. But, ang author, gusto niya magdagdag og point sa flow sa sentence. That's why nagamit siya og bracket or the round bracket. And ang gihimo niya na sentence is nagdagdag siya, and there is no doubt that the destruction was deliberate. Still, pag binasang the destruction of Guernica and there is no doubt that the destruction was deliberate horrified the world, it still makes sense. The sentence still makes sense. So, even though wala ang bracket, ang word within the bracket, ang sentence naga-make sense. O pag naa ang word within the bracket, still the sentence still makes sense. Then, next slide. Square bracket. A different set of square brackets can be used to abbreviate lengthy quotations. Example, we can define class a large-scale grouping of people who share common economic resources that strongly influence the types of lifestyle they are able to lead. Ownership of wealth together with occupation, one of the chief basic of class differences. The major classes that exist in Western societies are an upper class, bracket, and working class. So, why my bracket? Why man may bracket dira? So, that means that there are words na gisulat ang author, but he or she uses brackets because the word is not that important. So, gi-remove to siya o butangan og square bracket. Para pag makita nimo na may square bracket na siya, you can conclude that there are still words na kasama sa paragraph but itanggal lang siya. Because the major classes that exist in Western societies are an upper class and working class, that alone can make sense. Then, next slide. To correct the tense of a quotation to suit the tense of your own sentences. Example, if Charles Dickens were alive today, he would likely say, it is the best of times, it is the worst of times. So, nganong gi-bracketan man ang is? That is to correct the tense of the quotation. So, instead of using is, you can use was. So, the sentence would be, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. He uses brackets to correct next slide to add your own words to sections of an abbreviated quotation. Example, we went, bracket, to the new dinosaur exhibit and we had a great time. So if you try to remove the words inside the bracket and read it as, we went and had a great time, the author himself knows what he is trying to say or to imply. But as a reader, we can understand where he went and where he had that great time. So he uses words inside the bracket to explain and to let the readers to know where he went and where he had a great time. So we went to the new dinosaur exhibit and had a great time is more understandable, so, rather than we went and had a great time. So next slide.
How to write paragraph. So guys, before I proceed to my topic or to my discussion about how to write paragraph, what is paragraph? A paragraph is a group of related sentences that support one main idea. So, how to write a paragraph? In order to write a good paragraph, students need to understand the 4 essential elements of paragraph. Writing and nothing in the writing process is more fundamental than writing a solid paragraph. Each element contributes to the whole. The 4 elements essential to good paragraph writing are unity, order, coherence, and completeness. So, to make a good paragraph, dapat meron talaga ang 4 na elements. Murarapod good na siya, galuto kag scrambled egg na walay asin, di ba? Walay lasa, walay lami. So, ganyan din ang paragraph. Without those elements, di magiging solid ang ating paragraph. Parang may kulang, di siya masasabing good paragraph. So, the 4 element is very important and essential to have a good paragraph. Unity, order, coherence, and completeness. These elements will explain one by one of my group mates. Next.
So element number 1, unity. Unity in a paragraph begins with a topic sentence. Every paragraph has one single controlling idea that is expressed in its topic sentence, which is typically the first sentence of the paragraph. A paragraph is unified around this main idea, with the supporting sentences providing detail and discussion. In order to write a good topic sentence, think about your theme and all the points you want to make. Decide which points drive the rest and then write it as your topic sentence. Unity means that each paragraph has only one main idea expressed in the topic sentences, and that all other sentences and details in the paragraph revolve around the main idea. So, ang unity daw kay murag mo ni siyang imuhang basihan para maghimo or magsulat og importante nga points sa imuhang paragraph na related sa imuhang topic. Then, unity is important because it aids the readers in following along with the writer's idea. The readers can expect that a given paragraph will deal only with one main topic. When a new paragraph begins, this signals that the writer is moving on the new topic. Ang unity daw, importante kaayo siya sa paghimo og paragraph. Kay kung wala unity ang imuhang paragraph, murag imuhang readers kay dili siya maka-follow sa imuhang idea murag maglibog imuhang reader sa imuhang gusto nga ipahiwatig sa imuhang paragraph kay kung wala unity imuhang paragraph murag imuhang readers ba maglibog siya kung if imuhang sentence or imuhang details dili siya close sa imuhang main idea, so maglibog imuhang readers kay kaning dili sila makasunod, maglibog sila kay nganong layo kay imuhang mga details sa layo kay mong mga sentence nimo, dili siya connect sa main idea nimo or sa topic sentence nimo. Then next,
Element number 2, order. Order refers to the way you organize your supporting sentences, whether you choose chronological order, order of importance, or another logical presentation of detail. A solid paragraph always has a defined organization. In a well-ordered paragraph, the reader follows along easily, aided by the pattern you've established. Order helps the reader grasp your meaning and avoid confusion. So if you write in a paragraph, it must need to apply an order to effective whether you choose in chronological order of importance, and other logical presentation. And if you write a paragraph, it will start in a topic sentence, and you need to write a sentences to support your main idea of your paragraph and to maintain a consistent flow. And dahil kapag yung paragraph mo is ang pagsulat is paiba-iba or paikot-ikot, is hindi madali maintindihan ng iyong mambabasa kung ano talaga yung main point ng iyong ginawang paragraph. So, para mas madali maintindihan ng reader ang iyong paragraph, kailangan natin i-apply yung order sa paggawa ng paragraph, at yung main idea mo is mapakita or maintindihan ng reader yung main idea na ginawa mo sa iyong paragraph.
Element number 3, coherence. Coherence is the quality that makes your writing understandable. Sentences within a paragraph need to connect to each other and work together as a whole. One of the best ways to achieve coherency is to use transition words. These words create bridges from one sentence to the next. You can use transition words that show order, first, second, third, spatial relationships above, below, or logic, furthermore, in addition, in fact. Also, in writing a paragraph, using a consistent verb tense and point of view are important ingredients for coherency. Coherence refers to how the sentences in a paragraph follow each other reasonably, stresses the connection of ideas at the idea level. Cohesion refers to how the ideas of sentences and paragraphs stick together to support the controlling idea, stresses the connection of ideas at the sentence level. So in order to make a good paragraph, a well-written paragraph, you need to make your ideas quality very understandable. Because you can only call a paragraph a coherent one when it's very well organized. The ideas flow very nicely and the readers would be able to understand the ideas of the paragraph easily. Next.
Element number 4, completeness. Completeness means a paragraph is well developed. If all sentences clearly and sufficiently support the main idea, then your paragraph is complete. It there are not enough sentences or enough information to prove your thesis, then the paragraph is incomplete. Usually, three supporting sentences in addition to a topic sentence and concluding sentence are needed for a paragraph to be complete. The concluding sentence or last sentence of the paragraph should summarize your main idea by reinforcing your topic sentence. So, complete means everything is there, all in place. When you're talking about a paragraph, completeness means having all your information there. So, when talking about completeness, you should consider the following questions. Do you have an introductory sentence which states your main idea or topic? So when writing a paragraph, you should always need to have a topic sentence or your main topic. Do you have facts and details which support this idea? So your main topic should be supported by facts, details, and evidences. And do you have a concluding sentence or did you need one? So yes, of course, you need to have a concluding sentence in order to summarize your main idea. So for example, when you are writing a position paper, you really need to have a topic, a thesis statement, or a main idea. You should have your argument. Then that argument should be supported by evidences. So 3 evidences or 3 supporting sentences is already enough to stand your point or your argument. Then of course, lastly, you need to summarize your main idea, which will be under the concluding sentence or last sentence by reinforcing your topic sentence in order for the readers to understand what your point is, what your argument is, and what are you standing for. So I think that ends our report for this day. Ano pa? So regarding the activity, mag-send me og Google form sa GC in order for you to answer the following questions or ang activity na gihatag. So, naa dito ay identification na 5 items, multiple choice 5 items, and dalawang essay na answeran. So, bale, di isa lang ang activity namo sa group 9. So, dapat, in order for you to answer the following questions, you also really needed to listen the report of the week 9. That's the coverage. Week 8 and week 9 is the coverage for the quiz.
And for you guys to answer correctly, I hope that you will listen, you will understand the direction so that you won't get a minus. Thank you. That's all.